Welcome to The Favorites, the podcast, part of the Volume Podcast Network. I am Chad Millman of the Action Network. Huge show today. Probably the biggest one of the preseason so far, not just because of the division we're going to be doing in our previews, but because we have a very special guest. And I know for a fact, my co-host, my companion, my compadre, my BFF professional better, Simon Hunter, loves this guest. Hello, Simon.
Yeah, Chad, life's good. 2 weeks from today, we'll be talking week one lines, and even better, we have arguably the number one journalist, sports journalist in America on the show today.
Arguably.
Yeah, someone's going to argue the other side. There's always that guy. So
It's
you have
not
to
going to
always
be
say
me,
arguably.
brother. It's not going to be me. We are going to have our final two episodes of our annual division by division NFL previews this week. We're finishing our team by team breakdowns. We will talk about the NFC North today. We will talk about the Chicago Bears. We will talk about Caleb Williams, which is appropriate because our guest today made some big news about Caleb Williams earlier this past spring because he's got a massive new book coming out, which is brilliant because he's brilliant and he's an intrepid reporter. He's a friend of the pod. He's my close buddy. He's the author of the new book, American Kings, Biography of the Quarterback. Great title. Seth Wickersham, my brother.
I mean, can I just leave? Like,
Just go.
it can only go downhill from here.
We're
Just
gonna
everybody
just talk
buy the
about
book.
the book.
I'll talk to you later. Yeah,
You had a good run.
We
Thanks
had a
for
great
coming
time.
on.
Yeah.
So listen, you made the news this past spring about Caleb. It completely blew up that he did not want to be on the Bears. I want to get much deeper in the book, but give people a little bit of insight into what that is like when you are breaking that kind of story, and then how chaotic and crazy the following weeks are, and a little bit about sort of your building up of a relationship with Caleb and his father, which is a huge part of the book.
Um, I wish that there was a linear way to discuss it. Because as these things go, they're a little all over the place. Like I started working on the book in earnest in 2023, and Caleb was someone that I wanted to meet with just because he had won the Heisman Trophy his first year at USC, and he was kind of the first above board multimillionaire college quarterback. He was the first professional amateur quarterback. And so I kind of wanted to learn about that. So I spent some time with him here in New York, actually. And then I met with his dad months later in outside of DC. And, at that point, his last season at USC, it was a little bit of a struggle. Like things didn't look right. But his dad and the people who knew Caleb best, who were all there at the meeting, were all really focused on the draft. And they showed me these slides of how Caleb picked a college, the spreadsheet that he used, how he ranked and weighted various schools and programs and aspects of it. And the more I learned, everything from basically the beginning, of his junior year of college was reverse engineered for this moment to be the first pick in the draft. And my God, they were pulling it off. And so that to me was just mind blowing. And then you had this uncertainty. His dad is like, the Chicago is where quarterbacks go to die. And he wanted to think big, like Jack Elway did, like Archie Manning did, and try to figure out a way to give his kid some agency over his future employer. And so while I was working on the book with other characters, I followed them through that process. I was in touch with them throughout. Then it happened. I wasn't really sure. He ends up going to the Bears. I still wasn't sure what I would do with it. And then every premonition that his dad had about how things could go at the Bears went that way. I mean, they were horrible in every way, and it was very predictable, and his dad predicted it. And so at that point, I just kept reporting. I met with Caleb and his dad separately earlier this year to kind of fact check things. And then, it's kind of a waiting game. Like the weird thing about books is that like you do all this work and then there are these massive gulfs of no action, of nothing happening, while the book is in production, whatever it might be. And so that's kind of how it all came together. And then, you're putting together a new story. Some editors did that, and then it goes out into the world, and you're doing a lot of talking.
Listen, I know Simon wants to jump in because I was talking to Simon yesterday, and for those, Seth is one of my closest friends. We talk practically every day. So I don't think of him as a brilliant, intrepid reporter, but Simon is a true fanboy. So I want him to get his questions in. But to that extent, the book actually is brilliant. And I loved sort of the character development. And anybody who has ever watched a snap of football should buy this book because it's everything you want as a football fan. It's inside the game. You give great detail about various plays that anyone will remember from John Elway's life all the way through today. You mentioned Elway, you mentioned Manning. You were with both of them, in addition
Mm-hmm.
to probably half a dozen other guys. Explain a little bit as succinctly in sort of your pitch as you can what people are going to get out of this book as football fans.
Well, I wrote it, as as someone who came at it from a place of real curiosity, having been a failed high school quarterback myself, and having had my entire identity, at ages 14, 15, and 16 wrapped up in being a quarterback, and what it's like walking through the hallway when you're the quarterback of the school. Um and that as I've worked at ESPN now for a long time, 25 years, and if you cover the NFL, you cover quarterbacks. And even after all these years, I still had questions, and I wanted to write a book for anybody who's ever played quarterback, who's ever wanted to play quarterback, or anyone who's ever been kind of fascinated with it. And it's a very unique job. It's a very uniquely American job. And I wanted to also not do a history of the forward pass exactly, but a history of quarterback. Like, how did this job go from its invention in 1906 to very quickly being something that our culture celebrated and put up there with, other luminaries that, we honor and mythologize?
Said you're leaving out two of my favorite things, which I'll tease for people. John Elway, who is just such a legend and is an important part of this book, has such an amazing quote that gives an example of how he thinks about his life and makes those comebacks throughout his career so much more clear about how he dreams about what will happen after he dies. I don't want to give it away because people should buy the book to read it. There's also one of the best quotes I have seen in a sports book because you are deep inside the
Mm-hmm.
recruitment at the time of Arch Manning.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a quote from one of the coaches who is recruiting him from a school that he did not end up going to that is just so money from that process. Again, I don't know. I don't want, you know what, Seth, you give the quote because I don't want to like completely have people going blind, but do you know what I'm talking about from Alabama? Saban
Yeah.
has,
Well, let's just say it got, the Saban one. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I mean, let's just say that, like, I wanted to tell the entire history of the Mannings and the story of the Mannings through Arch, and really specifically through Arch's recruitment. And I think I have some great details about how ruthless it got. Even though these guys are like all buddies, like all the college coaches, it's like they're all friends, but they are so ruthless. And they went to nearly any extent to try to get Arch to go to their school, including, saying some things that, let's just say, like, they're pretty personal, when they go at their competitors.
It's great. It's really, really good.
Thanks,
People
man.
just have to just buy the book. Just go to Amazon, go to American Kings, buy the book. Simon,
So Seth,
I'm fanboying, but I'll let you really do it.
you've obviously spent a lot of time with quarterbacks in your career, and again, I'm 15 years older than Caleb Williams. I can't relate to this kid in many ways. Obviously, generational difference. When you spend time with him and all these other quarterbacks you spent time with that have done great things in the
Mm-hmm.
NFL, does he have the mental makeup to be a leader of men? Can you see him leading
Mm-hmm.
men for the next 10 years in a battle, 18 weeks out of the year? Does he have that makeup to you, or is he still childish in some ways where the big thing in media this past week was him throwing a hissy fit when he threw the ball, missed the
Yeah.
net. And again, that's normal. We've all done that when we were 13. So that's what,
Mhm.
like, all these pros I'm talking to, all these guys betting big money, their big question is, can he be a leader of men, Caleb Williams? And what's your opinion on him? Because obviously you spent so much time with so many great quarterbacks. I would love to know your view on his mental makeup.
Well, if I knew the exact answer to that, I would have flown to New York on my private helicopter and go back to my mansion. But I think that Caleb is in the ballpark of having what it takes. I mean, we'll see. I think that, like, the interesting thing, to zoom out, I mean, at one point I was sitting with Steve Young, and we started going through all of the hats that you have to wear as a quarterback, everything from matinee idol to field general to amateur psychologist to spokesperson for a multi-billion-dollar organization to, breathtaking asshole at times, all these things. And I think we stopped at 17, and it was probably still incomplete. And I think that what Caleb has in abundance, and this is a kind of a timeless quality, I think, but it's really being clarified now, is that the fame and the notoriety that has come with this position and the place that we hold it in our culture has created a monster where I don't think having one of the 10 best arms of your generation is just enough anymore. I think that you have to have that quality that politicians have, that rock stars have, that lead actors have, where there's a hole in your personality that needs constant adoration, like writers, that needs constant adoration, constant love, that almost needs to live in a self-constructed ecosystem where everything revolves around you. And that in itself is fascinating, because it is something that these guys need to do to hardwire themselves to make it through this unbelievable winnowing from being one of like 16,000 starting quarterbacks in high school in America to being one of 32 in the NFL to being one of the 10 good ones to being one of the 3 that make it to the Hall of Fame. And it's also not something you just turn off. And I think that, like, it's not the healthiest way to live. And I think that when you're in retirement, especially, there's something I wrote about it quite a bit in the book, because you don't just turn that off. You don't play quarterback, you are one. And that doesn't end when you stop playing. And so how you contend with that for the rest of your life is something I was really fascinated with.
Yeah, that to me was amazing. Sort of a lot of these guys, Warren Moon, you spent a lot of time with, John Elway, Steve Young, you had in the past written about Y.A. Tittle and had
Mm-hmm.
maintained a relationship with his family. So you understood sort of how he managed the rest of his life. And everything is not always as it appears with these guys, even when they look great, right? John Elway
Mm-hmm.
has made tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars in his post NFL career. Steve Young, same thing, incredibly successful. But they're missing something, right? Like, you are a quarterback. What was surprising to you as the reporting went on, and then you were sort of examining it through the writing about how these quarterbacks portrayed themselves?
One of the requirements I had for a character, I thought, is that, like, they either have to be kind of an indispensable part of the quarterback story, like Unitas, Namath, the Mannings, or have enough perspective on their career that they almost had like an opinion about it and they could see it from the distance and contextualize it in a way. And I think that in the process of doing that, I tried to understand what makes some of the guys more content in retirement than others. Because, I mean, a lot of guys are completely lost. I mean, Tom Brady's talked about it. Think about, of all quarterbacks in history, if not professional athletes in history, in American history at least, who had a better runway into retirement than Tom Brady? I mean, he played until he chose to walk away at a high level. He had all these gigs lined up before he officially retired. He got to retire for a month and then come back. And so he even had a glimpse of what it would be like. And yet still, even in that year off that he had between his retirement and when he started at Fox, he felt lost. And I mean, he did some curious things, including that roast. And I think that, going back to what Simon was talking about and what we were discussing, it's like, why did he do that roast? And I think it's for the same reason that Mickey Mantle used to lock himself in his car during, rainstorms just so he could hear the rain pounding on the car, because that was the closest thing that he felt to what his everyday was once like at Yankee Stadium. I think that Brady needed to be back on stage and in the spotlight again.
Simon, do you want to go next?
Yeah, I have so many questions about Caleb just because
Yeah.
he's so unique in the sense that, they talked about him getting ready to be an NFL player when he was like 14, 15. And,
Yeah.
We have plenty of people in the past history that, they had those expectations, right? They were on, their high school team was on ESPN. They had all the hype. And it's rare they actually live up to it. Like this kid has met the moment every step in his career, from high school to when he got to college, winning the Heisman, transferring, which is crazy to think, like how many guys transferred to a different school then to win a Heisman with that head coach. Now he's in the NFL, and I look at this trajectory of it where he's not lived in any sense a normal life, and I always wonder, how does that affect players like him, where we're in a new age, right? Like you just talked about the Mannings. Eli Manning, I mean, people might be too young to realize he was an absolute legend at Ole Miss partying. His freshman year, like I know people that went to school with him, and he was a dog. He was really a legend, and he turned it around, right? His dad got in his head, his brother got in his head, and we're like, you have the potential to be the number one pick. He got it right. He figured it out. But again, he went through that adversity. Caleb Williams' adversity is different, right? This adversity he's facing is the Chicago media. And I wonder, how do you think he's going to handle that, where, sure, he went through a little bit of USC, nothing like this. Like this adversity he's facing where, they start 1-3 this year, he's going to feel it, right? So I would love to know your view on him, how you think he can face adversity.
First of all, I actually am very bullish on Caleb. And I think it's entirely possible that they start 1-3, because despite what happens in the preseason, these things take time. And it takes time to learn a new offense, and it takes time for the new offense to learn the quarterback. And, context matters. But I think that, like, with Caleb, the interesting thing with me is, like, Elway was the first player ever to be number one out of high school, first pick in the draft, first ballot Hall of Famer. Peyton came and followed that. And now Caleb, he comes along at a time where there's a way to do this. Right? There's a path to being a quarterback. You have to have media training. You have to have physical therapy training. You have to have a throwing coach. You have to have an arm care coach. You have to, shop high schools and find the one that is doing an offense that best suits your skill set. You have to go to all of these passing camps that have no predictive value, and these quarterback clinics that have no predictive value, like Elite 11, that, that, as one person told me, breed little assholes and succeed at them. And he did all that stuff, right? And I think that, like, that to me is the most interesting, part of the Caleb story, is that, like, of this new generation of guys who say, okay, I want to be a quarterback, and there's a path to do this. And this is how you have to dedicate your time and your resources and your energy. He managed to do it. And I think that, like, fast forward, what does that mean for the NFL? I mean, so he had an up and down last year at USC. He obviously had that moment where he's crying in the stands after they lose to Washington. And then he doesn't meet with the press after the game. And of course, that just doesn't fly in the NFL, right? You cannot do that in the NFL. The locker room will turn on you. And he has a tough rookie year. And I thought that the leadership and the toughness he displayed, I think anyone's rookie year is about survival. Like, you can't extract too much from him, but I think that, like, if you're looking to extract things from Caleb going forward, he was incredibly tough. Remember that shot he took to the knee, I think on Thanksgiving against Detroit when he was going out of bounds, got right back up. He obviously was working within an offense that wasn't cutting edge. Let's just put it that way. He left some plays on the field, but, like, this was not a well-organized offense, and it wasn't a well-organized organization, and yet an operation. And yet he had some great moments at the end of the games where he was in those known passing situations, and it's on him to make it work. And he did. And I think that Sean Payton developed this quarterback formula to try to measure processing speed that I write about. And even though Caleb Williams was never going to be someone that he was going to draft, he ran Caleb through it. And one of the things that he wondered about Caleb was, like, how is he going to react when he's broken? Because he really hasn't been. And if that rookie year counts as that, I'm not sure it does, but let's just say it does. I think that if I were a Bears fan, I'd feel pretty good.
So you just said the magic words. I know you got to get out of here because you got to go do much bigger
I got
podcast
time.
than ours.
How could I possibly leave when you guys are saying such nice things about me?
Well, we got to go. We got other things to talk about.
Okay.
But before you go, like on this show, one of our favorite coaches of all time is the guy you just mentioned, Sean Payton.
Mm.
And you have spent a lot of time with Sean Payton. You wrote a great story about him for ESPN, and you profiled a lot of what he was, a lot of what you're talking about is captured in the book as well. You just talked about the processing speed. He gave you a lot of insight pre-draft about what he was doing that, you were sworn to secrecy, which you now have written about on ESPN.com as an excerpt for the book. Tell people who haven't seen any of those things the relationship you had with Peyton in this book and what he shared with you about how he got to Bo Nix.
Well, Sean Payton has, aside from the fact that, he's just one of the best offensive coaches of ever, he has always been haunted in a certain way. Um, all of us ex quarterbacks, we're all Uncle Ricos in some way. But with him in particular, he made it to the NFL as a replacement player and in 1987, and he struggled with processing speed. He struggled with multitasking. And so he obviously, coached the hell out of Drew Brees. But when Brees was on his way out and towards the end of his career, he wanted to find a replacement. And he wanted to figure out a way to quantify college processing speed and if it has a predictive value in the NFL, which is like, that's a gold mine in the analytics world and in the scouting world. And so when he did it, it wasn't unlike Billy Beane, who obviously came from a very autobiographical place in Moneyball of having had been a five-tool guy who didn't live up to it. So he knew that there's something else there. And Sean knew that there was something else there. And so what he did was he took statistics that are like available to everybody and he kind of weighted them and he created what is essentially a failure index. And so he looked at all of the quarterback's negative plays and essentially tried to figure out how often they happen. And he did that first in 2017. And the quarterback that it led him to was Patrick Mahomes. He was going to draft Patrick Mahomes, and then the Chiefs obviously traded up with Buffalo, took him, and the rest is history. And even though he coached Brees for a couple more years, then he ended up set out for a year, got with the Broncos. Russell Wilson wasn't going to work out. So he kind of dusted off that formula when he was going to draft a quarterback in 2024. And Bo Nix had by far the best score of anybody, including Jaden Daniels, including Caleb Williams, JJ McCarthy, anybody. And so I think that he felt that he had found a diamond in the rough in Bo Nix using this formula and subsequent meetings with Bo. And all of that stuff I just found fascinating. That, like, look, no one's saying that this is a silver bullet when it comes to quarterback evaluation, but here's a really smart guy who's done some things and he managed to find something that really looked like it worked. And I detail it quite a bit in the book.
It's fantastic. The whole book is fantastic. If you are a sports fan, if you are a fan of pop culture and how legends and myths are made and born, if you are a football fan, inside football fan, narrative storytelling football fan, just go buy the fucking book. Go buy American Kings, biography of the quarterback. Go to Amazon, go to Barnes and Noble, walk into your local bookstore. It's by Seth Wickersham. Go buy it. Seth Wickersham. Thanks for joining us, buddy. Good to
Hey,
see
great
you.
to see you guys as always.
Have a great day.
All right, you too.
All right, we're going to get on to the NFC North.
All right.
Thanks, Seth.
Bye, guys. See you guys. Thanks,
Great
Simon.
job, brother.
Thank you, Seth.
See you in a
Good
little
luck.
bit. Talk to you.
What a swell guy.
He's the best.
So I don't know if you guys
Alright.
probably have never had this problem. I'm in a house like a pretty big house by myself, and obviously you constantly hear things in a big house. So the other
Big
night,
house? You rich? Big
yeah,
house?
I've done well in life. Uh, the other night, I wake up and my computer in my office screen is on. So like you can see the light in the dark like through the door.
Sure.
So I open it up. There's no one in there. But again, there's no one should have touched this computer, anybody. So that was really weird. And then when I go to the bathroom across the hallway, the seat was up. I've never put the seat up in this bathroom ever. So I am like, get my pistol out, like freaking the fuck out. Walk around my whole house, go up into the attic, everything. No one's there, but I've not slept in that house in the last 4 days because I was so freaked out. Weirdest thing ever, though. I'm like, was I drunk? Did I forget to do it? Like, I don't drink like that. Like, when did that happen? But yeah, I don't know. It made me think I should write a horror movie, but how lame of a horror movie that would be.
Hopefully, I picture you putting your full palm and then the cheek on your face against the seat to see if it's warm.
It's still warm.
Oh,
I
Simon, speaking of crazy, so I went to this event last night and there was a dude there. This was like a supreme Connecticut rich people douche event. It was in Stanford. All private equity money. It was with this company that is trying to raise money, and I'm helping them with some content things. And one of the guys I sit down with, he's totally drunk. He tells me that in the past year he's bet $1 million, and he is up $200.
Incredible. Can't go broke cashing checks.
And he's like, isn't that crazy? I'm like, I think it's crazy you bet $1 million in the past year, but I don't know your financial situation.
Good for him to be up, though.
What's that?
It's like good for him to be up.
Yeah. Anyway, he's like, can I bet with you? I'm like, no, you cannot bet with me. I'm like, if you want to bet with someone, bet with my partner.
There you go.
I'll happily connect you to. And so if you're interested, I will connect him to you.
Yeah, you can give me his number. All I got to do is a background check on the guy. We'll see who he is.
Okay.
I love it.
NFC North?
I only need to get, you can just give me like 10% as a finder's fee. That's fine.
I can do that.
All right. Ready?
Good to go.
Let's party.
Are we in? Can I just go?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Simon, I hope you enjoyed Seth. I know you're a big fan of his work and what he does, and the book is amazing. So I hope everyone will check it out. We're going on to the NFC North. Just a reminder, NFC North plays the AFC North and the NFC East. This is the only division in football with all four teams over 8.5 wins and Super Bowl odds of 30-1 or less. It is so loaded with coaching talent. The three veteran coaches, Matt LaFleur, Kevin O'Connell, Dan Campbell, in this division have covered on a regular basis. They have overachieved. They have won with backups. They have lifted their teams up through personality and through strategy. They are the guys that we love. Now, here comes Ben Johnson, adding them to the list. They all have huge personnel gaps that make a lot of this impossible to handicap right now. But Simon, we're going to try anyways. Are you ready? You didn't answer me.
You need me to say yes? Yes, I am ready, Chad.
Yes. Start with the Lions. Division plus 145. Conference plus 400. Super Bowl 10-1. Win total 10.5. Can talk about losing Ben Johnson, can talk about losing Aaron Glenn. I do think that the defense is better by virtue of just being healthy. I think that they were on a path to be a really dominant defense last year, and then they just lost everybody. They obviously have great talent across the board, whether it's Jamison Williams, Amon-Ra St. Brown, the two running backs, the tight end, Jared Goff, who I think is great. But here's the but to me. Frank Ragnow, center, retired. Kevin Seitler, guard, signed with the Titans. I have serious concerns about their offensive line. And what I can't figure out is it an overreaction to downgrade them because of the loss of Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn? Have the books already accounted for that in the adjustment? 10.5 wins is lower than where they were last year. I can't get a read on this one. I feel like everyone is off the Lions, and that makes me think, are we missing something?
Yeah, and I remember we talked about the season coming into this year, our preview of playoff teams. I forced him in there because I just couldn't get over the talent level, and I think I've come full circle in the sense that I'm even higher than I was a month ago on this team, and it is because of the talent level. And you just go through their last couple of drafts, some of their free agency moves, and it's just home run after home run. So this was a team I was trying to be down on because we've seen it time and time again. These windows are so small, and when you lose coaches, it's a big deal, especially an offensive genius like they had in a defensive genius in Aaron Glenn. Like, I think that guy is highly talented as well. But when you really dive into it, it's unreal, the talent of this team. Maybe, the best safety group in football. I agree with you. The weakness is definitely going to be that offensive line. Like, I'm glad you brought that up because I don't think enough people are talking about that with this team. To me, that is an adjustment, but, we've already talked about a couple teams that have suspicious offensive lines, and I'm a big believer in scheme, and quarterback can always overcome bad offensive line. Like, yes, there's going to be plays you'll lose out on because you have such a bad offensive line. They can't, adjust to the blitz coming, different things like that. But overall, long term, if you have a really good quarterback and really good weapons and an offensive scheme, they will figure out how to move around that offensive line and make it work eventually. So for this team, I was looking for other teams in this division to dethrone this team. It's not that it's been bad for all these other teams, but it all feels like they're all still a year or two behind this Lions team that's so established that just they know the deal. Like, in that locker room, there is zero doubt with this team. They put all the blame of last season onto those injuries like we talked about, which is totally fair. I think we talked last week or the week before. I had them as my number one team coming into the season last year, and my model has them at number 4, despite losing all that offensive, minded talent with Ben Johnson and offensive line pieces. They're still my number 2 offense, graded wise. So it's like, I don't know. I wasn't trying to be overreactionary, and I feel like I was making them my 7th seed when we did our playoff rankings. Now when I really dive into it, I've been investing heavily into their divisional odds. I've been investing into their win total, and the 10.5. If people were so confused about it, I think it is because of the coaches they lost. But I just think it's part of the schedule, right? They have a tough schedule compared to what they had last year, and it's also because I think their division obviously is better in many ways. But the fact that you could get them right now as a dog at Green Bay week 1, where Jordan Love has surgery on his non-throwing hand, he's not practicing. People know secret. I've been hammering that. If you could tease it up right now to 7.5, like that's exactly where I want to be with this Detroit Lions team. So people can probably tell I've really done a 180. I'm fully all in on this Lions team, and it's just the talent level is just so insane that even if they do take a step back offensively, I think getting guys back healthy on defense will be such a bump that at worst, you can see this team being 11-5, 10-7. Like 11-6, 10-7. Like, that is a possibility, but I don't see them missing the playoffs. I don't see them being outside this divisional race. So, I know it's boring, people. I know we're going with another team that won their division last year, but it's just all these other teams are having drama right now, and everything I've read in camp about this Lions team is they've not missed a beat. The offense is super high flying. Defense is just a bunch of nuts playing hard for their head coach. Everything I read about it, it's like, all right, this is exactly what you want to be reading about a contending team heading into, 2 weeks away from heading into the season. So, yeah, give me Lions over 10.5. Give me Lions plus 145 divisional odds.
I'm so glad to hear you say that. I really am. Like, I've been looking at this team and looking really mostly at the numbers, and all of it feels like, well, like I said when I was launching into this, like too much of an overreaction. Like, all of it feels, the overreaction of the public feels priced in. And there are teams that when they've gotten to the level the Lions have gotten to and have had back-to-back heartbreak years. Don't forget, they were ahead in that NFC title game against the Niners 2 years ago. Last year, they were clearly the best team in the NFL, and they lost about 19 guys on their defense, and not insignificant guys for an insignificant amount of time. Their best guys for season long. And so teams can crater. You get none of that from the Lions. Like they seem to be so focused, so mentally strong. We talked a lot with Seth about sort of mental toughness, right? And can Caleb Williams be that guy? You don't get the sense that Jared Goff won't be that guy or that there's any less of confidence in Jared Goff from that team. At this point, if you're making a bet on the Lions, there's no on-field metric that's going to tell you what to do. You were only betting on the Lions being a well-coached team with incredible talent and getting over the transition of Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson. That's it. Like you're just having an opinion. There's no number that can get you there. It's just an opinion. I think I'm with you. The more I've thought about it coming in, it was weighing on me. Hearing you talk about it, getting plus odds on them for the division feels good.
Yeah, and it has to be this year though, because
Yes.
I look at this division, it is so talented, but it's young. And that's the cheat code they have. Is they have the veteran team in a very young division, but we know the deal, right? Like this is, outside that AFC West, this is probably the best head coaching group in all of football in this division. So, Lions fans know it. We know it. Windows close very quick. The window could shut this year, right? They could easily have a year from hell. I know people think they had one last year. They were the 1 seed. Like as bad as it was last year, that offense didn't lose any cogs in the machine. It was the defense that was hurt. So that's my view on this Lions team is that if you want to take them 10-1 Super Bowl, I get it. I just don't do it because I have mixed feelings about Goff in the playoffs. But regular season wise, this just feels like another juggernaut. And, I would not be shocked if you were talking week 7 and 8 and I have them moved up to my number 1 team in my power rankings in my model, just because that's if they do overcome what Chad just talked about, their head coaching problems and the assistants. And, that's the question here. It's all on Man Campbell. Like he's no longer has the OC, the DC that, people can rely on. It really is on his plate and with a couple new guys. So that's, like we just said, that's the only hesitation and question about this team. It's not the talent. It's just simply the coaching.
A little bit of a Chiefs vibe, right? When the Chiefs sort of get overrated, when the Chiefs get discounted by the public and all of a sudden there's value on them because, they lost this, they lost that, people looking for holes in Mahomes, whatever it is, it has a similar feeling to me of the past couple of years. Like, let's go all in on the Eagles. Let's find a way to love the Packers, et cetera, et cetera. By the way, breaking news from the second floor of my house here in West Hartford from Owen Millman, who is texting me literally while being on the floor in the room directly below mine. Daniel Jones has been named as the Week 1 starter for the Indianapolis Colts. The Anthony Richardson era will continue to have to wait.
So, yeah, I would say for real life, we talked about for betting wise, that's good for me, someone that wants the Colts to be a team I can bet on. So, yeah, that's a big deal, right? I'm not saying nail in the coffin for Anthony Richardson, but his career might be done in Indianapolis.
Green Bay Packers plus 250 in the division. Conference 10-1. Super Bowl 20-1. Win total 9.5. So look, we've talked about this. I think we both bet the Packers at 20-1 to win the Super Bowl early in the offseason.
No way, did I really?
I think you did. Yeah.
Well, only thing I have in my book is your 49ers bet and Rams.
I could have sworn we bet the Packers too. I have it in my book.
I can't believe. I don't know what was wrong with me in February. That's crazy.
The offensive line got better. I think the receiving core got better. I think their pass rush is middling at best. But I still think like you're skeptical. To me, I don't hate this because if Jordan Love is fully healthy for week 1, it's a non-throwing injury. I do believe he'll be back and sort of at full capabilities and he can play all season. Matt LaFleur is one of those guys. Like, we don't want to bet against him. He makes really good decisions. He gets the best out of his talent. I'm not afraid of putting money on. I'm not upset that I have Packers Super Bowl tickets at 20-1.
I don't know what's happened, but I'm out on them. I know I picked them for playoffs a couple months ago. When I look at this division, there's other teams I like better that I think have better value and are better and are just built better. Where this team, I don't trust the wide receiving core. Like, they talked about working on the drops. Everything I've seen in preseason and read from their beat writers is the drops have continued throughout practice with all different players. Now, they might have nailed Golden. Like, this kid might be an absolute stud. The kid they took in their first round, speedster with good hands. That's a big deal. But my issue is the Jordan Love part too, where Jordan Love had an incredible 7-game run, beat the Cowboys in the playoffs. Well deserved. Took the 49ers to it, right? Like, they were really in that game, and he got paid for it. And last year was the season from hell. But their head coach held that team above water, right? He was able to make it work with a backup quarterback and got that team into be, a 7th seed in the playoffs. Like, tons of respect to Green Bay. And I think that's why coming into the year, I had so much respect for them and just what they did last year. But when I'm really diving into it, their defense still has holes to it. Even though they've drafted the defense and they've tried to add to it and make it better through free agency, it still, to me, ranks, below the Bears. Like, I have them 4th in this division defensive wise, and offensively, I feel like I'm putting so much into Jordan Love taking that next step, where he's shown me zero signs of him taking that next step. And I threw out last year because he played through about 3 different injuries, and now he's already banged up his not throwing in, which again, not a big deal, but him not practicing and doing the things he needs to do these last couple of weeks, it's a big deal to me because this is the guy that needs reps. He is such an unfinished product that he needs these number 1 reps with these receivers that have drop issues. So it's just because of this division. If this team was in the NFC South, I'd probably would be all over them to beat the Bucs and win the South. But when I really go through it, their division's so talented, I just don't think that it's worth investing in them anymore. Like, to me, I wanted to be on this team to win this division. I was really high on them. But it's just all been so negative in camp. I'm just worried about them heading into the season where a lot of this rests on, Jordan Love and what he's going to be heading into the season if he's healthy or not. So, yeah, in 3-4 weeks into this season, I could change my tune to this team if they come out and they look right. But I think they're going to come out and be sloppy, and they can't afford to drop early games, right? They come out of the gates, Detroit, Washington, Cleveland, Dallas, and then their bye week. So I know it doesn't sound that hard on paper. That could be a 1-3 start heading into their bye week. And that's my fear, where if they start 1-3 in this division, I don't know if they can crawl back because I am, again, so high on all these other teams. So, yeah, there had to be one team I was going to be negative on, and it's Green Bay. I've totally shifted my position on them. I just don't like everything coming out of camp, and they're a team that I feel like is another, could they get to 10.5, 11 wins? Of course. If things break right with Jordan Love, they could easily get there. But I don't think it lines up for them compared to these other teams in their division right now. It seems like it's a bad camp heading into a season that could be a little rough for them where, they've had 2 straight years making the playoffs, Chad. That's a nice run. It makes sense they would have a down year.
Well, look, their rushing game would have to be almost historic in back-to-back seasons, right? What they did last year with Josh Jacobs and their ability to have him control the offense created so much momentum for them and masked a lot of issues. You talk about it with the wide receivers. Obviously, they had a lot of quarterback injury issues. That is how they dominated the game. But it's also because Matt LaFleur recognized this and recognized that was the way schematically for them to take advantage of their best chances to win. Maybe I'm overvaluing how good a coach Matt LaFleur is.
You're not, though. Like, that whole thing he did Malik Willis, I'm with you, Chad. That blew my mind last year. It was incredible.
It was genius.
Yeah.
Like, I think he's on par with, in terms of strategy, Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan. Like, these are guys who know their personnel and know the opposition's personnel so well that they can steal 2 to 3 games a year, no matter who is on the field, because other teams can't match up with them as well. And I do think I can't decide if it's saying a lot or not saying anything to say that the Packers have the fourth best defense in this division, because I do think the three defenses we're talking about with the Vikings and the Lions especially, but the Bears are elevating into elite level. They were incredible in the second half of the year last year, and everything about their defense during training camp has been dominant, whether it's been joint practices. We obviously saw it in the preseason, and I know they don't count, but they mean something in the preseason. So interesting. I feel like we're if you got to be down on someone because you can't love every
Can't love
team
all
in the
four.
division.
Yeah. So I
That's
know
the thing.
I can't believe I flipped on them because I really like them coming into the season. But when it's all negative like this heading into a season, rarely with a young team like this does it work out for. But like you said, LaFleur's the cheat code. Like he could easily right the ship pretty easily, and this could be another dominant season for Green Bay.
Right, but the truth is, everyone in this division is a cheat code.
Exactly.
You know,
That's why it's so hard.
right. Quick heads up to anybody playing fantasy football this season. It is fantasy football time. The Ultimate 2025 Draft Kit is here, courtesy of our Fantasy Labs team. That means our award-winning team, Sean Kerner and Chris Raybon, have their rankings, tiers, and cheat sheets ready for you. To get them, you'll need a Fantasy Labs subscription. And right now, new subscribers can use code FLEX20 for $20 off at fantasylabs.com/flex. Let Sean and Chris make your fantasy prep easier. Use code FLEX20 for $20 off at fantasylabs.com/flex. Okay, here's what's interesting to me. The Vikings, plus 350. Conference, 11-1. Super Bowl, 20-1. Same as the Packers. Win total, 8.5. So either at 20-1, either the Packers are overvalued, which you may believe, and the Vikings then are undervalued at 20-1. To me, that's how you have to it's binary in this case. I don't think like the Vikings and the Packers are necessarily even here. And I don't think that I think the Packers are closer to being priced right at 20-1 than the Vikings, who I think there's probably like, to me, they're overvalued, I mean to say. Because I don't think they should be 20-1. We don't know about JJ McCarthy. What we know is that last year, we did not believe in this team because of Sam Darnold, which was a mistake. We underestimated Kevin O'Connell because while he was coaching with a suspect quarterback in the hardest division of football, they were in it until the very last game of the year. So now he gets the guy that he liked and wanted to start last year, and he's proven he can coach basically any quarterback. So why shouldn't we believe in their ability to compete?
Yeah, this is the team I flipped on. It was another year where I was like, okay, I'm happy to sit it out and see if JJ can take that next step. And not that I've been bullied, but every pro I talk to who knows what they're talking about while evaluating quarterbacks, they love everything about this kid. And, they loved it in July. Here we are in mid-August, and the beat writers are coming around on this kid, and they're really loving him. And you're seeing it in practice. He's being more confident and consistent, which is exactly what, if you're a bettor and you're taking a position on him, that's what you're hoping for. But Chad's right. Like, them being the same with Green Bay, to me, is crazy. That means someone very smart with a lot of money has moved this number, because this was not 20-1. Me and Chad talked months ago about the Vikings. So, I look at this team as, last year we did get burned by Sam Darnold. Anyone that was like flexing, they're like, yeah, see, my model predicted that. Your model is trash. There is no way your model predicted Sam Darnold being a fourth quarter hero like he was last year. That's just something that it's unpredictable. Now, if you said you based it off their defense and what their defense can do, I agree. That was something I definitely missed. That, the year before we had talked about 2 years ago, they had this flukish thing where they basically led the league in fumble recoveries. And that was part of the reason we're like, okay, their defense might be great under Brian Flores, but they'll take a step back with the turnovers. And it didn't happen, right? Sam Darnold was able to protect the ball, and they were able to force a ton of turnovers last year, this Vikings defense. So we can agree this is part of their scheme with Brian Flores. Like, whatever he's running, it values attacking the ball and getting turnovers. So, looking at this team, it's, to me, probably the best value bet in this division because of the unknown of J.J. McCarthy. And I know it sounds crazy to do. He was 120-1 to win MVP. He's down to 80-1. I still don't hate it. And I know, again, it sounds crazy, but you have to look from the standpoint of, in the NFL, this happens all the time, where a guy misses a year or whatever, someone's ahead of him, like Mahomes with Alex Smith, and that year two, when they come in and start, there's no tape on them to prepare. These other teams can't adjust to it during the season, and they can have an incredible season. And it lines up for them where they have Hawkinson, Aaron Jones, Justin Jefferson, all these incredible weapons on offense with a top 5 offensive line, that if JJ is legit, this kid who all he did in high school was win. If you go back and look at his stats, just an incredible winner, gets to Michigan, same thing. And our biggest question was, can this kid throw the ball? Like, Harbaugh wouldn't let him pass the ball. So right there, it's tons of red flags. And now we're seeing with KOC, who's opening it up for him, the kid's got hell of an arm. It's all about the confidence and if he can believe in his own talent. So that's why, again, I'm still all in on the Lions from this division, because I still think this team feels like a year away. But I see the light. I see why pros have been hyping up this team and talking about them for the last 6 months now, because if JJ is that guy and he can do what Sam Darnold did last year, add in his athleticism and, be naive. Like, that's the key too, is he doesn't know any different, right? This kid is so naive coming into this league. He hasn't gone through all the bullshit that Sam Darnold did. That, I mean, we can both admit that caught up to, whatever that mental thing is, caught up to Sam against Detroit and the Rams.
Yeah, that mental thing is called ghosts and interior pressure. That's all it is.
We all have that inner monologue. Like, we all have that self-doubt, and that's the hope with JJ is he's the puppet that's never been hit. He's got the good life, right? He's got the owner that loves him. Like, he's only been smoke blown up his ass, told how great he is. Hey, we got rid of Sam Darnold because this is your team. This is all you. Lead us to the promised land. So to me, it's lined up for this team. And at 8.5 wins, I hate it. I wanted to fade this team so bad. I have to take the over, because it's like, if this kid's legit with a stacked defense and a stacked offense, this could be a really, really tough team to get out. So, again, brutally hard division. That's why I'm not going all in. Like, to me, the biggest bet I've made is the Lions so far, win total wise. But it's like 8.5. They should just be the same as Green Bay. They should be 9.5. Like, they should not be 8.5. There should be a 9.5 win total, because we've seen it time and time again. Like, a team like them that, what'd they win? 14 games last year? Is that really that big of a drop off going from Sam Darnold to JJ? I don't think there is. I think it really is scheme to base. So last year, I believe it was fluky in some ways, but come on. They were going to get to 10 or 11 wins. Like, even with Sam playing out of his mind in all those fourth quarters, this was a complete team last year. And you just said it. They've added pieces this offseason to this team because they're paying a rookie quarterback. So it's lined up for this team, right? They brought in Jordan Mason to be their red zone running back as well. So, yeah, people can tell I've been around a lot of Viking truthers these last couple of months, and it's been picking away at me. I've been holding strong, but once I watched tape on him from their practices, and once I've read the beat writers, it's like, okay, this kid, I can't keep denying it. He might actually have the goods, because that's the fear, is betting, like Chad talked about. This kid is totally unknown. I'm betting on preseason hype, which is never good. But again, I'm not heavily invested. I still think the Lions are the best team in this division. I just, out of the Green Bay, Bears, Vikings trio, I do put the Vikings at number 2.
So I watch a lot of Chase Daniel, the ex-quarterback. He's got a great YouTube channel where he breaks down quarterbacks, and he does it on TikTok too. The 3 quarterbacks he has spent the most time on, pointing out, like, oh, this guy's good. Are you ready? 1, Cam Ward, which you've been on for months. 2, J.J. McCarthy. 3, Caleb Williams.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the Bears for a second, because their division is 450, conference 16-1, Super Bowl 30-1, win total 8.5. Reminder, NFC North is the only division that has all 4 teams with win totals of 8.5 or higher and Super Bowl odds of 30 or shorter. That's how good people expect this division to be. It's a little bit like, I think it was last year or 2 years ago, that was the AFC North, where The Browns, the Bengals, the Steelers, and the Ravens were all over 8.5. So look, the Bears, anyone would argue, highest ceiling, lowest floor, because their combination of new coach and relatively new quarterback is so unknown and so loaded with potential. And no QB, we just talked to Seth about it, has been examined more during the preseason. You asked Seth two questions. They were both about Caleb Williams' mental state. No quarterback has been more examined during the preseason, from missing the net on accuracy drills to looking like a Hall of Famer on an opening drive of the preseason. I was in Vegas all last week. I got home later in the afternoon, evening on Saturday night. Got home just in time to turn on the Bears playing the Bills. And like I turned it on at 10 after 8. That first drive, the crowd was so insane. Caleb was so good, dropping back, quick decisions, laser throws, no hesitation whatsoever. And then that defense and that crowd, it felt like it was Bears football in January, right? That's how starved people in Chicago are for a team that can perform at a halfway decent level. But just because Ben Johnson has been a genius coordinator doesn't mean he will be a genius head coach, right? And as much as I think the defense has gotten so much better in personnel and coaching, and the offensive line is so much better, Joe Thuney, Drew Dahlman, I really worry about this team because this sked is such a mix of high and low. They get the Saints, but they get the Eagles. They get the Giants, but they get the Ravens. Then they get the Lions, Packers, and Vikings twice, including opening the season with the Vikings and Lions. And by the way, the team that crushed their soul and mine on a live podcast, the Washington Commanders, in week 3. 8.5, like, seems like a tall order for a team where if they got to 7 or 8, I think it would be a massive, massive success.
And that's what I have him. I had him at 8 wins. So I am towards the under here, but I didn't bet the under. I'm honestly leaning towards the over just because of what you talked about, that Ben Johnson upgrade. And we talked on the phone last night, and I told you what got me really fired up wasn't the touchdown pass. Obviously, was the misdirection and having your second tight end, Clement, running 30 yards down the field in stride, Caleb hitting him. And like that's what I want to see out of a Ben Johnson offense, is the misdirection and a 30-yard bomb down the middle to your tight end, because that's what makes him so special. It's like you need someone to think differently when everyone else is thinking the same, and that's what makes Ben so unique and special. And I told you a month ago it was going to be ugly early on with Caleb because Ben is such a psycho. And if you're not running it right, he's going to make you run it again and again and again. And you're going to hate him. You're going to resent him. You're going to get pissed off about it. But that's his style because he wants perfection. And, you know, Caleb, like we talked about, the reason I was asking Seth so much about Caleb is because I'm a believer in Caleb. Like, I've followed him obviously since he's in high school. I've heard about this kid in the DC area, and I've been following him this whole run. And every step of the way, I've agreed with the other pundits of, no, this kid is the once-in-a-generational talent. He's one of a kind. And he's coming to the league, and there was flashes of it. People already are burying him, leaving him for dead, right? They already had Jaden Daniels is by far the best quarterback in that class, and maybe Drake May is even better than Caleb Williams. And that, to me, is just the overreactionary of the NFL and the general public. And I always say 2 to 3 years, right? That's what you should give these rookie QBs, is a 2 to 3 year window before you really start making those type of proclamations. And, you know, when I watched Caleb, I saw the flashes of why he is so great, but that's what I was asking Seth about his mental makeup. Was there's so many things he did last year that, yes, the coaching staff failed him in many ways, but Caleb was failing in many ways. And we all can agree that. We saw what happened after that Washington game, that they completely, you know, caved in on themselves, and that all really started with him. That's why I wanted to know if can he be a leader of men? Because this isn't, you know, little kid shit anymore. Like, these are grown-ass men looking to him for leadership in these dark moments, and can he do that and be that personality type? So, you know, when I dive into your guys' roster, the talent is there, and I do think the defense right now is probably ahead of the offense in some ways because they have
100%.
attacked that unit in a lot of ways, and we still have questions about, even though they spent money and they've attacked the offensive line, there's still questions about the offensive line in some ways. So not enough I can get at a training camp, but if I'm a Bears fan, this is as excited as I've been since that Mitch Trubisky year, that year too, where I think Chad even bet the 50-1 Trubisky MVP odds, because I get it though, like that's the trajectory of these quarterbacks. So that's what I think this year is for this Bears team, right? This is the year before it, right? This is going to be what Chad just said, 7-8 wins for this team this year. I think that would be a great first year for this QB coach combo, and that should be the expectations. Now, fans are always going to want more. If you guys start hot, right? Let's look at the schedule. If you guys beat Minnesota, Detroit, lose at Dallas, and then beat Vegas, you're 3-1, head into that bye week. How do you not drink the Kool-Aid? So that's why, it's going to be tough with Bears fans here where, the excitement might be so hard to pass on, because it's great that you have the Vikings and Detroit early on, because there's going to be no tape on Caleb in this offense. Like, you could beat these teams early on because there's nothing to really defend against. They don't know how to scheme against it. But me and Chad know this could easily go the other way, that Caleb could look totally fucking lost when the bullets start flying. And after the first 15 scripted plays, it could get ugly really quick, because this is a whole new scheme for this Bears team with a young team. So with all that unknown, that is why I like this Bears team. But, I can't bet this over. I can't bet their divisional odds. I can't really do anything with them here, because it's like, what am I investing in? I get why there's more confidence in these pros betting